This is Mike DeFreeze, Information Officer, McCamarine Peak Fire, and I'm here with Field Operations Chief Reggie Bray. And Reggie, you've done a lot of aerial work on this fire, and you have some stuff to show us today.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we'll go through a few videos here, and I'll try to narrate kind of what we're looking at and geographically where they're at, and see how that, so we can show you kind of what the fire looks like. So what I'm going to begin to show you is the east side of the East Troublesome Fire. That's just west of Estes Park, and where it came over the divide, and just show you kind of the current status and where we're seeing some heat and what it looks like, how much snow is still out there, things like that. Right now we're flying up over Bear Meadow, looking up toward Tombstone Ridge, and you can also, we're looking at kind of up Spruce Canyon. You can see on the ridge in front of us more of that snow where the fire burned more intensely. Pretty much crown fire that burnt through the crowns of the timber, and the definite edge just kind of to the right side of the screen there. Here we're looking at the south side of that East Troublesome Fire there, just west of Estes Park. You can see Cub Lake there in the distance. You can see the fire here where it burned up over the ridge, kind of stopped in the timber down in the lower elevations. You can see not very many smokes here. There were a few just up the ridge behind us, but right now we're flying east, looking down in toward Estes Park, and a better view here of Cub Lake. Right now, this is the area on the south side of this fire where we have crews that are working along the edge of the black. You can see the black and the unburned here on this ridge where the snow's melted. Here, this picture, we're now on the south side of Cameron Peak, just beginning to come into the Comanche Lake or Comanche Reservoir area. You can see still a lot of snow cover here in the higher elevations, and the fire looks very quiet here on this part of the fire here at Cameron Peak. Coming around, we're going to be looking at Comanche Reservoir right here, and you can see a good picture where the fire burned. You can see where the snow is and the definite timber that's unburned. You can see a definite line. Now we're looking down toward Pingree Park, just to the southeast here as we fly along the edge of the timber. A few visible smokes here. You can see them on that ridge just in front of us here, out the nose of the helicopter. And you can see those are just starting to come into view here in this picture. Again, those are just burning in, dead and down, single log or two. Still has quite a bit of snow around it. We're continuing this flight along, again, looking toward Pingree Park and the CSU campus. Just looking at a few, heat signatures, a few smokes that are visible. Some of the heat signatures are invisible to our naked eye. We're just picking those up on infrared. But you can tell that there's a lot of snow still out there on the landscape. So those fires aren't going to be able to move around, even those things that are smoking, that are showing. Here, this is the heat, the fire that's just to the south of Pingree Park and the CSU campus. Yesterday when I flew, there's a few more visible smokes. Those smokes that are in the foreground we were not able to see them 2 days ago. But yesterday they were showing up. We're continuing to dry. There's snow melting, and but again, you can see the amount of snow that's out there. They aren't going to be able to burn through those fine fuels, and that's really what we're looking to see what the carrier is, and that's some of our trigger points. As the snow melts, if it continues to melt before we get new snow, then as it dries out, it might be able to move around. But right now, currently in the fire situation, we're not seeing that. Here you can see we're just up canyon of the CSU campus, and then here's a picture of Pingree Park as we're flying kind of back to the northeast looking at, you can see the road that comes into the CSU campus. And as we're flying back around the edge of the fire, back toward Cedar Springs. And so this is coming up, this is the slopover that is just across the North Fork Trail. This is actually the northwest edge of that slop. You can see a little bit of smoke on the very ridge top there. That's been there for the 4 or 5 days that I've been flying it. We're able to see that it's not moving, just burning in some heavy dead and down, maybe a snag or two, some dead trees that are still standing that it's burning in. But again, that fire is not burned, not moving anyway. As we turn, we're looking right at the ridge. This is where this fire, when it came across the North Fork Trail and ran up slope toward the top of the ridge, just kind of hit the ridge and stopped. It threw spots over the ridge, kind of as you see as you're looking at the screen on the green in the left hand, you can see a little smoke right there in the foreground of the picture. But again, still lots of snow. Where this is a north-facing aspect on the burn side, so you can still see there's a lot of snow there. Still continuing to fly kind of to the southeast around this slopover, and still very, very small amount of smokes that we're seeing. That's kind of been the trend for the last several days. But again, we are picking some heat signatures up that we can't see with the naked eye. Here we're coming around the southeast tip of that slopover and looking back down into the canyon, into the North Fork Trail. Again, you can see a definite, where the fire stopped, probably due to the weather that came in, but you can still see there's a continuous amount of snow. So those fine fuels are not going to be readily available to burn in the near future. Here we're starting to fly across the canyon. We are looking right now just at the ridge line above the retreat, just to the northeast of Glen Haven. You can see up on the very top just one little smoke. Here you can tell this is a south-facing slope, so a lot of the snow is melted off, but there's still very limited heat. You can see where the fire burned and kind of stopped along the top of the ridge, and then you can see the smoke just below the ridge line right there in the middle of the picture frame. Here we're flying close to Storm Mountain and getting into Cedar Springs. You can see that most of the homes here along were protected. The fire got down in a few places close to the roads, but didn't seem to impact a whole lot. Snow, we're starting to drop down in lower elevation, so we're starting to begin to see less snow. Again, this is also a south-facing slope, but you can see the definite edge here above the road where it burned, and firefighters and the weather were able to stop it. Here we're kind of looking east toward Cedar Park, and again, just wanted to get a picture, give everyone a picture of kind of what the snow cover was, and then just kind of seeing what the fire is doing. Very little heat here, almost none. This is an area that we feel like we have good control on.
So Reggie, there's smokes, as you point them out along the way. I think commonly people wonder, well, why not get them all now before they get big? Why wait?
So part of it is reason is safety. And then of course other part is access. Because even without the snow, we weren't maybe able to access some of that, and it wasn't safe to put firefighters in there just because of somebody gets hurt. We can't get them out of there of the time frame. So the other thing is with the snow too, that impacted us with actually accessing some of that. Some of these areas we are now, the snow's going away, we've got roads plowed, we're able to get up there and actually take care of some of those. You're going to continue to see those ones that we can't safely put people in, firefighting resources in to suppress. They're going to continue to burn. Now, we're going to watch them, but some of those are interior, and so they're not close to the edge, and so they don't really pose a threat. They're just burning inside the black. There's really nothing else to burn around them. or they have snow completely surrounding them. So, hopefully those will burn out and we'll continue to see less of that over time.
Yeah, and I think also people may think, well, why not just do a helicopter bucket drop? That'll put it out. But I know with timber, a bucket drop could cool, but it's not going to do the job, is it?
Right, you have to really, so a couple things with that as well. Typically when we're using aviation and bucket drops with water, you need resources on the ground there to work that. I mean, you're talking about large diameter logs that will continue to burn. I mean, they've had snow on them for several days, and they're still burning. So water dropping on them wouldn't be that effective over time. It just would slow the spread if it was fine fuels around it, but there's snow on those fine fuels. It's not really a necessary mission. So we have to look at the risk versus gain. The other issue is that most of the lakes and places we would get water are froze, and we can't actually use the buckets right now. So that's another issue.
That's great. Well, we thank you for sharing all this video. We know, obviously, in your position, super busy. So thanks so much for sharing this with all the people out there who are following the Cameron Peak Fire for many, many reasons.
You're welcome. Thank you.